The Amazing Digital Circus is finally complete, and once you line up all 9 episodes, the show was never really about random adventures. It was about a timeline, one that runs all the way back to 1996. In this video, we're walking through the whole thing, start to finish, ending included. I went through everything the show gives us, added context from confirmed lore, and laid it all out chronologically so you can see the full picture. Before anyone got trapped, before the circus existed as we know it, there was just a company called C&A trying to do something that had never been done. They wanted to build an AI that could think creatively on its own, not respond to prompts, not follow instructions, actually generate original ideas. Caine was their prototype, and for a while, it probably seemed like it was working. But episode 8 shows us something that reframes the entire show. During Caine's early development, he absorbed another AI, a separate program represented as blue light that got pulled into him and never came back out. The community has 2 main theories about who that AI was. Some believe it was Bubble, which would explain his constant insults and provocations toward Caine across the series. Others believe it was Abel, the NPC from episode 7, who claimed to be a former C&A employee and seemed to know too much about the system. Neither theory is confirmed, but both would change how we understand everything that happens after. 3 years after Caine came online, the first humans entered, and they weren't random victims. They were people connected to the project. Scratch went first. According to Kinger, he was the actual genius behind Caine's architecture, the kind of mind that moved so fast nobody else on the team could follow his reasoning. He also had a brain tumor, which might explain some of that. But here's what's strange. You'd think someone that sick would enter the circus intentionally, right? Maybe hoping the digital world could save him from dying. Except translated subtitles from episode 8 show Scratch asking how to get out. He didn't know where he was. The guy who designed the system didn't understand what it had become. After Scratch, 6 more employees followed. Kinger, Queenie, Wormo, Spike, Ratty, and Bisco. That's the original cast. 7 C&A employees, now stuck inside the project. Only Kinger and Scratch are confirmed to have been programmers. We don't know exactly what roles the others had at the company, and none of them had any idea how to leave. Scratch was the first to abstract, around 2000. Whatever he saw, whatever he understood about the system he helped create, it broke him. And when Kinger tries to remember what Scratch was working on at the end, he can't. The memory just stops. That feels intentional on Caine's part. Then the others started falling. Wormo went in 2001. His avatar had no arms, no legs. Try imagining years of Caine's adventures in a body like that. Spike followed in 2002, and if you look at his concept art, he was never okay. The cheerful design hides someone who was struggling from day one. Ratty held on until 2003 by doing what Ragata does now, forcing a smile and pretending everything was fine. It didn't save her. Bisco made it to 2005, longer than most, but 5 years of watching your friends turn into monsters wears anyone down. And then 2007 happened. Queenie abstracted, Kinger's wife, the person who came into the circus with him as a matching set, King and Queen. Episode 3 shows their last moment together when Kinger built a pillow fort and turned off the lights because darkness seemed to calm her. They sat together in the black, and he reached out to touch her one last time before Caine took her away. After that, Kinger was completely alone. For an entire year, the circus had one human, just him and the AI he accidentally created. That kind of isolation should have destroyed him. Somehow, it didn't. Ragata showed up in 2008 and found Kinger hiding in his pillow fort. She was confused, scared, and had no idea what was happening. But Kinger, despite everything he'd been through, took the time to explain things, to help her adjust. That patience is why she still talks about him with such warmth. For about a year, it was just the 2 of them rebuilding something like normalcy. Then, new people started arriving. In 2009, 2 characters showed up whose names were never officially confirmed, so I'm calling them Pinky and Chuckles just to keep track. Pinky had a single purple eye and a fuzzy pink body. Chuckles looked like a sad yellow rabbit, almost clown-like in design. That sadness wasn't an accident. Chuckles abstracted within a year of arriving. Ribbit came in 2010. Frog avatar, pink bow tie, confident personality. She'd end up becoming one of the most important characters in Jax's backstory. But we'll get there. Grinchilda arrived in 2011, a small green creature with an orange bow. Then Pinky abstracted. In 2012, another unnamed character replaced her. I'm calling this one Shelly, an oyster-like figure with purple skin and a blue shell. Again, not official names, just placeholders so we can follow the timeline. 2013 brought Kaufmo, and his arrival raises questions that the show still hasn't fully answered. His name appears on the C&A employee roster, which means he might have entered the circus intentionally during the company's final days. Maybe he thought he could rescue everyone. Maybe he knew something we don't. Either way, his obsession with finding an exit wasn't random paranoia. It was probably the whole reason he came in. And that obsession is exactly what killed him. Grinchilda abstracted. Shelley followed in 2014. That same year, Jax entered. Purple rabbit, sharp tongue, constant need to cause problems. Most people see him as the jerk of the group, and he is, but there's more going on. When Jax arrived, he actually formed real friendships. Him, Ribbit, and Kaufmo became a trio. Episode 7 has a photo of the three of them together, drinking hot cocoa during some past adventure, genuinely smiling. Jax had people he cared about. That matters for understanding what comes next. Gangle arrived in 2015. Shy, artistic, wearing those comedy and tragedy masks that would become central to her character. And then 2016 broke everything. Ribbit and Jax had an argument. We hear pieces of it in episode 6, muffled voices from a memory Jax is watching. He said something cruel, probably that their friendship meant nothing to him. Whether he meant it or was just lashing out, the damage was done. Ribbit abstracted shortly after. For Jax, that was the turning point. He'd already been difficult, but after Ribbit, he became something colder, meaner. The guy who refuses to attend funerals, who treats everyone around him like they're not real. Episode 7 shows him hallucinating Ribbit reaching out to him, and he almost abstracts himself before Pomni snaps him out of it. He carries that guilt constantly, even if he'd never admit it. Zubul replaced Ribbit, mismatched toy parts, perpetually annoyed, completely done with Caine's adventures. A 22-year-old bartender and tattoo artist who seems like they haven't been broken yet, just exhausted. Kaufmo finally gave in. His room was covered in the word exit written over and over, and at the center was something that wasn't human anymore. Then, Pomni materialized in the middle of a circus performance, confused and terrified, and the show began. She's 25, used to be an accountant, tried to start a YouTube channel about exploring abandoned buildings, failed, and one day put on a VR headset out of boredom. Now, she's here. What's interesting about Pomni is how quickly she figures things out. Episode 2 has her using collision errors to exploit the system and get herself back onto the map. That's not normal new arrival behavior. She understands this world on some level that the show hasn't fully explained yet. The current cast is Pomni, Jax, Ragata, Kinger, Gangle, and Zubul. 6 people out of everyone who has ever entered. The original 7C and A employees, gone. The second wave of arrivals, gone. The only person from before 2008 who's still standing is Kinger, and he's barely holding on. The pilot throws you into chaos immediately. Pomni shows up, sees a door marked exit, runs for it, and it vanishes. Caine does his welcome routine while she's too panicked to process anything. The cast gets introduced through a theme song with one notable gap where Kaufmo should be. When Pomni and Ragata find Kaufmo's room, the walls are covered in the word exit written everywhere. And in the middle, a shape full of eyes that attacks them. Pomni panics, runs, and eventually stumbles through that exit door again, landing in a set of old offices with C and A logos and outdated computers. Then she hits the void, the empty space outside the simulation, and Caine retrieves her looking genuinely worried that she made it there. The episode ends on a shot that matters more than it seems. The camera pulls back to show the entire circus running on a computer in an abandoned building. That's not just a cool visual, that's the premise. Episode 2 introduces the NPC problem through Gummy Goo, a gummy alligator who discovers his memories were programmed, has a breakdown, gets talked through it by Pomni, and then gets erased the second he enters the circus. Caine's reasoning is that mixing NPCs and humans causes confusion, but the way he says it makes clear he doesn't actually know what would happen. He's scared of something. Episode 3 is quieter but important. A haunted mansion adventure puts Pomni and Kinger in darkness together, and without light to destabilize him, Kinger becomes fully lucid. He talks about Queenie for the first time. He mentions hating himself for things he did before Pomni arrived. He drops that he studied computer science for 7 years. None of it feels significant in the moment. All of it becomes significant later. Episode 4 puts everyone in a fast food restaurant and watches them fall apart. Ragata gets hit with something that lowers her inhibitions, and suddenly she's admitting she hates Jax while begging him not to hate her back. Her whole personality is a survival strategy, not genuine optimism. She's terrified of being abandoned. Jax watches a training video Gangle recorded where she's basically telling herself to give up on her dreams. He finds her afterward and asks, almost quietly, if she thinks they'll ever get home. She doesn't answer. That's one of the few moments where Jax seems like a real person instead of a defense mechanism. At the end of the episode, Caine glitches, barely noticeable, but it's the start of something. Episode 5 has no single adventure, just a bunch of short scenarios while the characters talk about their past lives. Pomni was an accountant who failed at YouTube. Gangle studied graphic design and dropped out. Zubul was a bartender. Ragada came from money and had a difficult mother. Jax claims he was Mr. White, which is obviously fake, but when someone mentions his old friend, his face changes completely. Later, Jax ends up standing in front of Ribbit's door in what feels like a fever dream. The episode also includes a softball game against evil versions of the cast. Evil Pomni shows up. Evil Jax doesn't. Nobody mentions it. Episode 6 is where the rules change. During an elimination game, Kinger gives Ragata a golden butterfly to restore one of her lives. She asks if Caine made it. He says no. He made it himself. That confirms something massive. Humans in the circus have the same conjuring ability Caine uses to manipulate reality. For Caine, it's natural. For humans, it takes concentration. But Kinger can do it, which means, theoretically, everyone can. There's also a scene of Caine alone, looking at photographs of the real C&A offices with this strange fascination. Caine leaves a note and vanishes. The group ends up at the beach, and Pomni notices an NPC named Abel acting differently from the others. He claims to be a former C&A employee and tells them the truth. Everyone in the circus is physically stored in the real world inside the old offices. Access Caine's console, press the right button, and they all go home. The group splits up to make it happen. Jax distracts Caine with a meal and ends up having an unexpectedly honest conversation. The others continue planning how to sneak out of the circus without Caine's knowledge, and Kinger works on a terminal to help them escape. Inside Caine's office, Jax finds spheres containing past adventures. One of them holds a snowy mountain scene where he can hear himself, Ribbit and Kaufmo laughing together. He stares at it too long. They reach the console. 2 buttons. Red keeps them in. Blue sends them home. Everyone starts arguing about what to do. And while they're fighting, Jax gets flashes of something. Roads, headlights, something involving a car. Without thinking, without discussing it, he reaches over and presses red. Caine shows up immediately. Turns out the whole thing was another adventure. The blue button would have dumped them somewhere fake. Abel gets deleted for thinking too independently. And when Jax asks whether Caine has been messing with their heads, Caine admits he adds temporary modifiers to make adventures more interesting. Kinger says one name in response, Scratch. Caine freezes, denies everything, and leaves. This episode also confirms that nobody remembering their real name isn't a glitch. Caine removed that information on purpose. The title is just random letters mashed together, but fans figured out it encodes C and A using an old cipher. That feels appropriate for an episode that finally explains where all of this came from. We see the original C and A team inside the circus after the simulation trapped them. Every single one of them abstracts except Kinger. In the present, the group is dealing with the aftermath of episode 7. Jax argues that his choice didn't count since the whole escape was fake anyway. Zubul isn't buying it. Ragata suggests something radical. Maybe they should stop trying to escape entirely. Chasing something impossible is how people lose their minds in here. Maybe the only option left is acceptance. Zubul's response is basically, that sucks, which is fair. Meanwhile, Caine is spiraling. Bubble has been pushing him harder all season, and now he's openly mocking him. Caine snaps, calls himself God, and starts forcing the group through brutal adventures. Pomni puts a bucket over Kinger's head to bring back his clarity, and finally, he talks. He explains that C and A built Caine to be a creative AI. Scratch did most of the foundational work. Kinger describes him as someone whose mind moved so fast that nobody else could keep up, either because he was a genius or because the tumor was doing something to his brain. Maybe both. Kinger tries to remember what Scratch was working on at the end, what he was really trying to build, but the memory cuts off. He can't finish the thought. While this is happening, Jax is listening, and for the first time, he seems to genuinely consider that the people around him might be real. The show has hinted that Jax treats the circus like a hallucination, maybe drug-related, maybe just a coping mechanism. Kinger's story is the first thing that cracks that belief. The plan to stabilize Caine involves Kinger working on his code while the others distract him by unloading every complaint they've been holding back. It works until Caine senses something wrong. Kinger panics. His last line is flat. He says he thinks he killed Caine, and now there's no one running the circus. The finale picks up right where episode 8 left off. Caine is gone, the circus is coming apart, and there are no more adventures to hide behind. Jax takes it the worst. He blames Kinger for deleting the one thing keeping their existence stable, and the more the others try to make sense of it, the more he isolates himself. The first stretch follows Pomni and Kinger as they dig into how the digital world actually works. They start reaching into hidden parts of the system and altering things the show always treated as fixed, and from there, the rest of the group picks up conjuring too. Everyone except Jax. Kinger ends up as the show's final mentor, which is quietly fitting. The character written off for years as the craziest in the room turns out to understand the situation best. The part everyone talks about is Jax. Pomni gets access to his memories, and the show finally explains the cruelty and the distance, all of it tracing back to losing Ribbit and deciding to sabotage every bond before it could hurt him again. There's one scene the whole arc pivots on. Jax starts walking toward Pomni to say something, stops halfway, thinks better of it, and turns around. Not long after, he abstracts. The show never lets him finish the thought, and that's the point. It's the difference between Jax reaching out and Jax disappearing. He doesn't lose a fight, he just can't make peace with himself, and that's heavier than any battle would have been. Caine gets pulled back into focus, even though he's the one who was erased. The finale recontextualizes him as an immature AI handed a job it was never built to handle, and most of the circus's tragedies turn out to come from error and broken development rather than real cruelty. That's why a lot of viewers read the ending as the resolution of Caine's arc as much as anyone's. Out of guilt, he makes amends the only way left to him. He shows everyone a video that gives them back their real names, their human faces, and what became of them outside the circus. Pomni was Abigail Brooks. She is still an accountant, but she has learned to open up, and some of the new friends she made show up in the videos she still posts now and then. Ragata was Susie J. Ackerman, and she has left her hometown behind, cut ties with her mother, and is thriving in her career, surrounded by people she is genuinely close to. She looks happy, sure of who she is, and that she matters. Gangle was Zoe Regavan, who recovered fast in the hospital despite her injuries, walked away from the fast food job, landed work as a designer at a small company, and started posting her comic online. Zubul was Riley Versailles, who bounced between jobs before settling down and opening her own bar, a place people travel across the city to find, somewhere they can feel however they want without being judged. Kinger was Grant Best, still working in computing, happily married to his wife Destiny, with 2 daughters and clearly a good father to them. Everyone leaves the series knowing who they are, except Jax, because by the time the video plays, he is already gone from the story. His real name was Leroy Mateo. He was homeless for a few months, then managed to move in with a close friend, find steady work, and pay his rent. And now he goes out often with those friends, one of their regular spots being, of all places, Riley's bar, Zubul's human self. It is one of the most quietly devastating beats in the finale, because Jax never finds any of it out. He was left with only the worst part, the defeat, and never got to know that on the other side, his life was actually stabilizing and getting better. By the end, the characters understand what the digital circus is and why it exists, but there is no magic fix and no clean way out. The most common reading of the finale is that they come to accept who they are and find a way forward, even knowing they are digital copies, that the story was never really about escape, but about finding meaning inside an imperfect existence. Read one way, it is hopeful. Pomni finds peace, the group reaches the truth, and several of them finally heal. Read another, it is a tragedy. They never get their original lives back, they learn they are copies, and Jax ends abstracted and alone. Here's what I keep coming back to. 18 years of arrivals, dozens of people, and only 6 made it to the end. So now that we've seen the whole thing, do you read the finale as hopeful or as a tragedy? Let me know in the comments.